I honestly didn't expect this thing to be as useless as it is right now, so I'm just gonna slap an other category here for Gilda and Trixie, aka other characters causing the problem, because I'm apparently a fool and thought that this was gonna be way bigger than it actually is. Oh well, moving on. We enter Boastbusters with Twilight practicing her magic. Spike has her listed as learning 25 different tricks, and counting. We don't really know what that means though. Like, it seems like it's really low if it's from when she has been studying with Celestia, and if it's from when she entered Ponyville, I guess it's a little bit better. It could also be 25 tricks today or this week or something. It's really strange to me. Also, the magic she learns is growing magic, which is extremely nebulous, and all it did was give Spike a mustache. Does that mean she can now grow anything? What does this mean? Is this the first time Spike hints at his crush with Rarity? I don't remember it from the previous episodes, and I feel like I would have pointed it out if I did. I'm kind of too lazy to go back and check, so I'll say it is. Okay, no, I went back and checked, and it's the first flippin' episode. He starts to fawn after immediately. I'm blind and deaf. Leave me alone. Lyra 12. Also in this scene, Spike expands on unicorn magic lore. Unicorns are only supposed to have a little magic related to their special talent. However, Twilight lets us know that since her special talent is magic, that might mean she has more than the average pony. She's not trying to boast or anything, she's just saying that might be the case. But then Spike tries to gas her up, so she humbles herself, saying there's probably ponies equally as knowledgeable as her in Ponyville. Given what we learn of Twilight's aspirations later, I think she's displaying less of humility and more of just lacking confidence in herself, believing that if she was truly impressive, she'd have done more than making friends in a small town. And that's a topic for that episode, not this one. I believe this is Snips and Snails' first appearance. I might be wrong about that, but I think it is. I don't remember seeing them in the previous episode. Spike and Twilight are already acquainted with them, so they likely met off-screen at some point. They explain that there's a new unicorn in town, and she might have more magic than any unicorn. Ooh. Which actually causes Twilight some distress, hinting that what I was saying before was likely true. Also, what exactly are Snips and Snails' cutie marks supposed to represent? Snips has scissors, so you would think like barber or tailor maybe, but we never see anything like that. And Snails, I have no fucking idea, but he's like a hidden buckball master, which that hasn't even been invented yet, I'm pretty sure. So how did those correlate? It'd be pretty sad if he got a snail from just being slow-minded, because he displays some strong intelligence in said buckball episode. Yeah, maybe it's closer to wisdom, but you get my point. Lyra, when I pointed it out, was already walking in the direction that this little demonstration is happening in, so I'm not going to counter again. But however, Derpy 9 is right there. We also still haven't seen the animation error that turns her into Derpy. I'm excited to see when that happens. The great and powerful Trixie's first appearance and line. She is already giving off extreme showmanship vibes and tries to play the crowd and hype everyone up. She exudes extreme self-confidence in herself, which is going to be the main theme of this episode. Humility is golden. Also, Trixie shows up almost instantly in her episode, but Gilda had to wait like 7 to 8 minutes to show up in hers. That's kind of depressing. Spike and Rarity are discussing Trixie's boasting and how they're not big fans of it, and Spike tries to hype up Twilight again, only to get nervous around Rarity and flee, looking for his mustache. Twilight expresses concern at her diligence and questions if she's in the wrong for her passion and work, only for Applejack to explain that it's perfectly fine until you go about parading it around like a blue ribbon hog. And we see that Trixie is actually only a stage magician, where she mixes her unicorn magic with sleight of hand, which is impressive because she only has hooves. Hey, it's that grown-up Babs from episode 1, but close up. Neat. Can't believe I never noticed it before this watch through, though. Apparently her name is Candy Mane, but can you blame me for the comparison? I mean, really. Oh, hey, a hidden Bon 15 right behind Twilight. Also, Rarity, Applejack, and Rainbow are all complaining about how just because you can do fancy magic doesn't mean you should lord it over other ponies like you're some amazing, worship-worthy pony, which we can see affecting Twilight a lot because she's becoming self-conscious about her own behavior. Remember when I said Rainbow likes to boast? Well, here we are. Boastbusters. It's one of the first episodes where she starts doing it because Trixie's doing it. But with a little anti-boasting pressure from Applejack, she sort of turns it around and turns into heckling Trixie. Don't heckle performers, people. It's rude. For all they know, it's Trixie's stage persona, and they're just making an enemy in the friendliest place in Equestria. Trixie hears their naysaying, her words not mine, and questions who want to challenge her, calling them ignorant. You could argue she's still in a stage persona thing, but now it feels more like that's who she really is, and they're a little bit more justified. Of the main 6 present, they all have different reactions to the boasting. Fluttershy looks like she's shrinking to avoid the confrontation, Rainbow's angry, Applejack's annoyed. Rarity looks like she thinks that Trixie is just sad for antagonizing ponies. Twilight looks curious, and Pinky's being weirdly quiet and just listening. In fact, I don't think Pinky has a line in this episode, which is extremely strange to me. They could have just not shown her at all, but she actually shows up at the end of the scene. Twilight now silences Spike as he attempts to praise her again, claiming that she doesn't want the other 5 to think she's a show-off. Twilight currently believes that A, taking credit for your achievements is boasting, and B, that taking down an arrogant showboater makes her one too, both of which are generally not true, but circumstances may vary. Trixie showboats with some simple fireworks. We know they're fireworks because of later information about her home, and because there's literally one on her stage right there. You can see it. It's part of the decoration. As Rainbow calls Trixie out on why she thinks she's so great, Trixie claims that her magic is so powerful that she can slay an Ursa Major. Given the lack of context other than the audience's reaction reaction of awe, we can only assume what that means. But apparently it's impressive. Trixie's story claims that when a town called Puffington, I think that's what she says, was being attacked by an Ursa Major, she chased it off back to its cave in the Everfree Forest. It's weird that we never go to Puffington or even really refer to it again, despite it also bordering the Everfree Forest, which is apparently a lot bigger than I gave it credit for, honestly. Maybe we do go there and I just forgot, but I don't believe so. Snips and Snails have hopped onto the Trixie bandwagon and will now basically serve as hype men for her whenever she's around, like in future episodes too. They're probably Trixie's biggest and most loyal fans, which is kind of wholesome for her, given her own self-esteem issues we learn about later. Zipper Mouth, I'm gonna assume this is one of Twilight's new 25 tricks, or just one of her general 25 tricks. Is this considered something specific? Because this isn't growing, unless you're growing a zipper on him. I don't get it. Oh no, Trixie calls out Twilight explicitly. Just kidding, she was actually pointing to Applejack right next to her, despite the scene framing it the other way. Twilight just sort of withdrew out of fear, though. Applejack displays a masterful lasso performance. Trixie's rebuttal is hog-tying Applejack like a pig. Really rude, not really the same level of skill involved. I'd still give it to Applejack, honestly. This is more of a petty retaliation than a display of skill. Yet the crowd of ponies who are more than likely to be biased towards the main six, what with them being residents their entire lives, eat up the prized pony of Ponyville award-winning, ever-reliable and beloved Applejack, getting humiliated. Friendliest place my butt. Rainbow Dash claims it's her job to be the show-off of Ponyville, only to do one somewhat difficult trip, and then fly in a straight line really fast, and then retrace her steps in the stunt to return to the stage bringing with her condensation to display a rainbow above her, which has a lot of flair, but it doesn't actually seem that difficult, but we've also never seen any Pegasi try a similar thing. But if the Wonderbolt training is to be believed, then I guess this was actually pretty good. Okay, so Trixie doesn't have, like, actual confidence in herself as we learn, but she manipulates the light Rainbow created and uses it to twist her ass into the ground. That seems incredibly skillful, and that doesn't get addressed enough. Manipulating light like that already seems hard, but then giving it tangible mass too? Trixie might just be a master and deserve to be on the council. Trixie then commits assault with lightning on Rainbow Dash, which would probably be a worse crime if Rainbow wasn't a Pegasi and was pretty resilient to weather magic. Also, those motherfuckers are just enjoying it. They're just enjoying their friend's suffering. Rarity tries to rise above this petty Boast battle, but then Trixie calls her mane a rat's nest, and well, just as Rainbow can be baited with her ego, Rarity can be baited with insults against her appearance. Rarity tries to turn the contest into one of beauty and grace, so Trixie just follows through with her words and gives Rarity a rat's nest mane. You can even see the rat tails coming out of the top. Rarity accidentally roasts green hair in her distress, and now, Golden Harvest is upset. Golden Harvest only has this main color and coat color in this gag scene. She's normally shown like this. Trixie finally calls Twilight out for real this time, and Spike tries to convince her to do it, but Twilight is too nervous after all the boasting is bad talk, and thinks she can't ever do her magic in public, which is a bit of an overreaction, but honestly, that's in character. Twilight overreacts way too much. Trixie this episode really needs this humbling and her future humblings. She treats Snips and Snails poorly, despite them actually liking her in her performance. It feels like she doesn't want to let her guard down for anyone, and then Spike appears to tell the duo to use some critical thinking and explain that Trixie makes all these claims but has no proof, and they shouldn't believe everything they're told. Snips also gets an unbearably bad idea for the conflict of this episode. Twilight and Spike are having the argument of bragging versus not bragging, and Spike is just correct here. He's honestly been the voice of reason this entire episode. Twilight doesn't want to be seen the same as Trixie, but Spike tries to tell her that she's standing up for her friends, not bragging, which is just true. Sadly, Twilight's confidence has been slowly dwindled in this episode, so she can't see the truth. Honestly, her constant teleporting in Applebuck season felt more like bragging than this. Also, conjuring a door, which is, I'm assuming, another one of her 25 tricks. Snips and Snails somehow navigate the Everfree Forest and find the Ursa Major Cave, or what they think is the Ursa Major Cave. Unironically impressive that they managed this, given that the Timberwolves and the other dangerous plants in the area, even Zecora, who we haven't seen yet, but everyone in Ponyville currently fears. This shows how much they want to believe in Trixie and that they're willing to walk into extreme dangers to help her clear her name. It's really wholesome and she needs to treat them better. Oh look, an Ursa Major. Yeah, defeating one of those was sure impressive and worth bragging about. Nice. If only it was true. Trixie, realizing Snips and Snails just lured an Ursa to her front door, is reasonably terrified, displaying what most viewers probably already gathered, that she is a fraud. Oh wow, Trixie's home gets destroyed. She literally lives out of that. It's terrible that, like, she may be a bragger and a fraud, but she doesn't deserve to be homeless. Trixie then, rightfully, yells at Snips and Snails for bringing a giant, dangerous creature into a populated town. She then tries her weak magic tricks to stop it. Honestly, the fact that she even tries to stop it tells me that she's not a horrible person at heart. Lyra 13. Trixie finally reveals that everything she said was a lie to sound impressive. She also claims that no one can stop an Ursa Major. Twilight unleashes a wind spell that causes reeds in a lake to break that play a pleasant tune that put the Ursa to sleep. I'm just gonna choose to believe that's just a fancy way to represent a sleep spell, because otherwise that's fucking wild. We can also see that this level of magic is a huge strain on Twilight as she is sweating bullets. Spike says that this is number 16, so another over 25, I guess. This is an interesting shot of her horn having layers of magic to represent the additional power. It started at 3 layers in the previous shot, and now it's at least 4 or 5, and Twilight then performs a massive levitation on the giant water tower in town. While problematic that she dumps out an entire water silo, I'm sure it'll be forgiven due to the circumstances. But also, Twilight runs the container through a barn and fills it with milk. Given that the cows are sentient, as we've seen, this has some suspicious implications that I don't really want to dive into. Let's just say the cows understood the situation and helped Twilight out. No more questions. Twilight levitates the overbuilding-sized Ursa and the silo with extreme effort, looking like she's about to shit herself from exertion. We already counted Lyra when she ran away from the Ursa, but hey, look at that. There's Bonbon. 16, by the way. Lyra, will you just get out of here? Also, I told you Golden Harvest is normally not green. Also, is that the first time we see Cheerilee? I don't think it is, but I think it's the first time I've pointed out that that's her. This is the first time Ponyville has seen Twilight actually be impressive. Normally Twilight's just the fucking book pony, but nope, here she is actually doing some crazy shit and everyone's impressed. Twilight carries the Ursa all the way back to the cave it was in. How did she know where that was? Seriously though, this feat is unironically insane. A building plus size lift across what's likely at least a mile, considering it took until nighttime for Snips and Snails to actually get there. That's fucking crazy. Her magic is wild. Derpy 10. Also, it's here that Twilight's fears are put to rest because the town is super grateful that it wasn't completely and utterly destroyed by a giant Ursa. Who would have guessed? Everyone reveals to Twilight that they mostly hate Trixie for being a loudmouthed braggart, revealing that they're super proud to be friends with an extremely powerful unicorn that saved the city. Because, I mean, why wouldn't they be? Twilight probably shouldn't be that surprised, but fear can blind people to the most obvious things at times. Twilight also reveals that the Ursa was actually a minor, aka a literal baby. Trixie is completely stunned by this. Twilight also calls Snips and Snails for disturbing a snap and causing the rampage in the first place. Calls them out as. The Ursa Major gets revealed. It's kind of like a bear mixed with a mole, or maybe a tiger. I don't know. After one last brag, Trixie leaves and Twilight decides to punish Snips and Snails to clean up Trixie's home and give them and Spike mustaches. Not really a punishment on the latter half, but whatever suits them. I'd also like to note that Mayor was nowhere to be found this entire episode, and anyway, whatever, we're on to Celestia's letter. Twilight writes that she was so afraid of being a show-off that she was hiding a major part of herself, her magic that she works really hard on. Her friends helped her realize that it's okay to be proud of your talent as long as you're not lording it over others, and that there may even be times when you should probably use them, especially when standing up for your friends. Funnily enough, this is almost verbatim what Spike said in their argument before. Spike gets Twilight to admit that she's talented and skilled, which is nice to see her take confidence in herself finally. Twilight also inquires about Spike's attempts at wooing Rarity with the mustache, which he claims she didn't go for. They both show they care and love for one another in this scene. A lovely ending to an episode. Spike unfortunately still needs to work on his confidence because Twilight tells him that all he needs to make Rarity like him is to be himself, and he's just like, nah, I need a better mustache. Anyway, before the outro, I actually accidentally learned about Spike's magic while searching for something completely unrelated. Apparently, there was a comic that was made where it says Celestia raised Spike first and taught him magic before assigning him to be Twilight's assistant and for her to be his caretaker. I don't really pay attention to comics, so I don't expect me to go into them more on purpose. That was just an accident. Alright, so Boastbusters. I actually like it because it introduces Trixie, and I wish they did more with her. She was honestly one of the more interesting side characters, but she just sort of gets a couple of good episodes that pass this one, and then we're not going to really worry about her too much. Beyond that, though, the episode as a whole, it's probably also like a 6 out of 10. It's above average.